This melted so it looks like caca. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Book and Beverage review, where I will be reviewing The Alchemist, the first book in the series of 6 of the Secrets of the Immortal Flamel. And also, I will be reviewing caca. No, it's not caca. It's Nutella in a mocha ice cap. It's new from Tim Hortons. Let's sip some coffee and get into a story. Oh, the Nutella goes down. It's kind of melty. This tastes very similar to the Oreo ice cap, actually. Like, I feel like they just put the... because it has a cookies and cream flavor. Ooh, sweet. Getting into our book, like, okay. So I love the way that this book started out. It started out with two twins, a male and a female, who work across the street from each other. The girl works in a coffee tea shop and the boy works in a bookshop. And in the bookshop, there is the owner, whose name is Nick Fleming, which is later revealed to be Nicholas Flamel, of course, the famous alchemist from France. And he is living with his wife, Perenelle, an immortal life because they make an elixir every month to keep themselves alive, but the book that they use to make the elixir gets stolen, and it's a very modern fantastical novel. One of the ways they incorporated like modernity into this story with a lot of historical figures was like the kids would be researching things on Google. They would be using their cell phones. They would be using their computers. They would research the actual people they were meeting on Wikipedia. I thought that was super fun. And also, with that being said, there was a point where the kids were fighting off a monster. One of our main characters, who is a twin, Sophie, she goes and picks up a microwave and throws it into this creature to destroy the cryptid. That was super cool because it was a great way to incorporate our modern world into a fantastical novel, which sometimes they do stick to like Renaissance-y swords sort of things, and I love that. But at the same time, having a modern fantasy, what does that look like? I think that this book, The Alchemist, is a good snapshot of it. And I feel like Michael Scott did a really good job in showing us what it's like to be a teenager in a very silly circumstance where there's a lot of magic, there's a lot of going into shadow realms and dealing with all sorts of different powers that be. I thought that this was fast-paced. There was a lot of action going on even in the first chapter, and it was easy to listen to, easy to read, and it was very fun to see how things developed in the story. So he definitely had a great handle on suspense and keeping a reader's interest. I really enjoyed the novel. It was actually recommended to me. His name is Jesse, and he knew that I liked historical fiction. I forgot how he ended up talking about it, but he actually recommended the series, and I'm grateful that he did because it's turning out to be very fun. I already started audiobooking the second book in the series, and I'm loving it too, so that's going to be coming soon up on this channel, the review of The Magician from Michael Scott in the second of the series, The Secrets of the Immortal Flamel. So it's kind of a mouthful, it's kind of a tongue twister to say it, but aside from that, the people know what you're talking about when you do talk about it, because the people who are fans of this book are fanatics. I went on some places in Reddit where people were talking about it, and I looked up some reviews, and people just seem to be like, they are so into it. And I'm so very surprised that there hasn't been a film made of it or something along those lines, because even though our cinema is like filled with Marvel magic, this supernatural sort of stuff, this has its own place. I think it's unique. I think it's characteristically modern, and I would recommend it. So, but for the right person, of course. I did have some issues. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm Christian. People are going to say that has nothing to do with the book and you should be unbiased. It does have things to do with the book. Why? Is because, one, I like the book, but some of like fantasy and fiction novels, they like to incorporate a lot of like old gods from Egypt and other places, and the problem I have with that is just that some of those gods that you're putting now into a children's novel have really dark pasts, such as with Hecate, who is known to be a vampirist, blood drinking, whatever. I don't like that, and I wouldn't recommend my 14-year-old nephew to read the book. However, that being said, I do want to be somewhat objective about the book because it was well written. It's not necessarily with this novel. It might just be the genre and some kind of phenomena that's happening in the genre. Just like Harry Potter, you know, and they had a lot of elements in there that didn't quite explain the history of these sort of negative characters that are now poses to be positive or fantastical or whatnot. My final thoughts are that this book gets a 4-star. No doubt I found myself enjoying it, giggling, and really rooting for our main characters. The characters are very likable, even some of the villains are likable. As for a drink, I like it, but it actually is very similar to the Oreo ice cap. I mean, the Nutella on top is a nice addition, but makes me wish I had an Oreo ice cap. So I'm actually going to give this 4 stars. I feel like it's just kind of a less good version of the Oreo ice cap. And also, I will be having the Children of Huron up on Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to sipping a beverage with you and getting into a new story soon. Take care.